This is the Central Valley. This is where half of my life is. It's a lot of agricultural business, a lot of farms. Not so good for wives' jobs, but apparently really good for wide open airspace for planes. I think there's a reason that people have always sort of said you're married to the military, because even though I always thought that I just fell in love with somebody whose job happened to be he wanted to be a pilot in the Navy, I didn't realize just how much the military takes over your life.
I think you have to understand that the military attracts a certain kind of person. And that person is someone who feels very called to serve the country. And at this point, I think for the last few years, that has meant going to war if that's what they're called to do. So naturally, they're going to be marrying women who feel the same way, for the most part.
It kind of feels like I'm straddling two worlds a lot of the time. The Central Valley, where Dave lives, we have most of our friends are military-related wives or pilots themselves. But I also have this other life, this other sort of reality down in Santa Barbara, where I teach at UCSB. I'm a grad student there. I am looking at how military family members and veterans engage with the peace movement. This is Arlington West. This is a memorial to the American soldiers who've died in Iraq, and we have a cross for every single soldier who's died. I don't just talk to people who are out along the corners and who are tourists. I also talk to people who are walking along the crosses. Some of them are spouses, are parents, friends, commanding officers, and fellow soldiers of people who've died in Iraq. I've seen a Marine between tours in Iraq, full of the Marine tattoos and everything, just breaking down as he finds 8 or 9 of his buddies. I've had moms who we hadn't made the name up yet because her son had just died just that week. And I talk with the tourists too, and they're often just overwhelmed that people forget that we're at war and that they themselves didn't realize that we've lost quite so many troops. And they're really moved by the cost of war. Every week we have to make new crosses. This week I believe we had to make 31 crosses. And most of the work's done by local veterans, and I'm a military family member, so. This memorial has given me a community of people who have connections to the military, but who also understand the unjustness of this war and are willing to say something about it. And that's meant an enormous amount, because people in the peace community don't always get what it's like to be a military family member or to be in the military. And people who are military families don't always want to think about the war, don't want to think about the policies behind the war.
I think definitely there's a sense of not wanting to talk about the war. I've noticed that no one talks about it.
When I'm on base, I'm not wearing my peace t-shirts. I don't have my car covered in peace bumper stickers. I could be ostracized on base, and I certainly don't bring this stuff up at Wives Club meetings. But at the same time, when we're all socializing at Wives Club meetings or the Navy Ball, I've had people ask me about things that I do, and I tell them.
I've never met anyone who is actively engaged in protesting the war amongst military wives. I don't think that that would be an easy path to take.
Dave's job is to fly the F-18 for the Navy. That doesn't allow him to speak publicly about his opinions about the war, and so he won't be able to add his voice to mine no matter how he feels about the war.
As an organization, Military Families Speak Out opposes this war and opposes any future wars of aggression.
Less than 0.5% of the United States has an immediate family member in the military. And so we feel like it's especially important to hear from those of us who have a family member and who have someone they love at stake in this war. While Dave hasn't been in Iraq yet, we live with the constant knowledge that he's likely to go and go soon. And when he does, I will be worried about his physical safety, but at the same time, I think I'm actually more concerned about him coming home and having to live with the guilt and the knowledge that he's killed people, possibly just for lies and greed. And I'm really concerned about what that will do to him. I guess why I speak out about the war, because I don't want Dave to have to live with that.
For me, I had to face the idea that maybe his call could mean a life lost. It could mean a limb lost. And that was a very scary thing for me. Military wives face that every single time their husbands deploy. Whether it's through your own faith or your own inner resources, you have to come to grips with that.
Dave and I have, first of all, we have a great relationship, and I'm really fortunate to have somebody who's so supportive. I do think it's difficult for him to have me be as public as I am about my ideas and my feelings about the policies of this country. I think the biggest thing, though, is the time, because the speaking out, he completely understands, and he supports my First Amendment rights to do so. And in fact, that's what the military is supposed to be defending, our rights and our freedoms. But at the same time, the hardest thing is being away from each other so much.